We hope you enjoy listening to this podcast of St. Louis on the Air, brought to you by University College at Washington University. With undergraduate and graduate programs, part-time, evening, and online. University College at Washington University, offering world-class education within reach.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. We're reporting from home and abroad today, from as far away as Uganda and as close as the Bellerive Country Club. First, we'll stay behind the local headlines. The stars are out at Bellerive these days as the best golfers in the world are here for the 100th PGA Championship. This golf tournament, one of the four major PGA tournaments, is a big deal for golf, for St. Louis, and for Bellerive. Lots of planning goes into an event like this. I talked with Mike DeCola, the general chairman of the event, Wednesday on the eve of the opening round, and asked how an event like this is pulled together.
Well, it's like any massive project. You start out with a big picture plan, and then you break the plan into pieces, and the more you break it into pieces, the more details there are for you to figure out how to get the big plan accomplished. And so we started off with a pretty big plan about 3 or 4 years ago of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And then you start figuring out what the pieces are. So, for us, there's stuff that happens on our property that we have to plan for and manage around. But then there are the myriad of things we have to coordinate with the local community and law enforcement and EMS and traffic and MoDOT. And so getting all of those folks bought into your plan, you want their input because a lot of times they know stuff we don't know, and then getting them to help bring the plan to a reality, which is what we're doing this week, is really fun. I mean, I've learned things I didn't even know about. I've met people that have such a passion for making this region great and are bending over backwards to help make this event successful. It's very, very cool to see the community come together like this.
How much control do you have over all of this? It would seem to me that the PGA probably steps in at some point and tells you what you're going to do.
I'd say that there have been very, very few times where that's happened, even though contractually they can tell us what to do. It really is not how they operate. It's been collaborative from the beginning. They want our input. They want us to buy into their plans. In a lot of cases, they need us to execute their plans. So it really is much more of a collaborative partnership, trying to solve problems, trying to come up with the best answer. Obviously, we're very respectful when we're spending their money to keep that in mind. So it really is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. I'd say the only area where they have set standards, but they've allowed us the flexibility to execute against those standards is what happens inside the ropes. They want the rough a certain height. They want the first cut a certain height. They want the fairway a certain height. They want the greens a certain way. And they just give us the specifications, and then our superintendent, Carlos Arreo, and his team go out and execute to it.
Let's talk for a moment about that spending their money part. It's always fun to spend other people's money. Who can complain about that? But
exactly.
Just describe how that works. I mean, what are they spending money on that you can talk about?
Well, most of the construction that people when they come out here will see for the grand entranceway, the bus depot, the work that was done down at Fenton Logistics Park to make the boarding process as fan-friendly as we could make it work.
Is there a financial advantage for Bellerive? And certainly there is for the community.
There's a huge advantage for the community. The local chamber and other organizations have estimated the local economic impact at $100 million. I would hope that that's a conservative estimate by the time we're done on Sunday. It's really a terrific boost, and it affects every part of our community. everybody thinks about hotels, and yep, the hotels are doing really well, and restaurants will do really well, but then the employees of those hotels and the employees of those restaurants and the Uber and Lyft and St. Louis County cab drivers do well, and the number of local people that have been hired to work at concession stands and at Fenton Logistics Park to help traffic flow in and out. All that trickles through our economy, and we are very pleased with how much the PGA and their vendors have reached out into our community.
I don't mean to be crass, but does Bellerive make any money on the deal?
Well, we won't know that until everything's done, and it'll probably be quite some time. We're not doing it. We're not going to get rich. It's an event we're doing because it's part of our mission as a club. It's an obligation we feel we have to our community, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be doing this for St. Louis.
You're a member of the club, I know that, but I wonder if there aren't some members who think maybe this is more of a nuisance than it's worth. It's disruptive, perhaps.
Well, I'm sure that sentiment exists. I think anytime you get more than two people together, you're going to have two sides to a story. And it has been a tremendous inconvenience for our members. Other local clubs have really stepped up to help us in that by allowing our members to play on their courses. That's still a disruption for our members, but it at least minimizes some of that impact, and we can't be more thankful to the other clubs in our community that have stepped up and tried to help our members not feel so much of the pain on their shoulders. So it's great. Everybody is very happy this week. I think by the time we hand the Wanamaker Trophy to the winner on Sunday night, our members are going to be really proud, and they'll conclude that whatever inconveniences we've suffered for the last 6 or 7 months were well worth it.
What about the care and feeding of the golfers? Are they pretty much on their own, or do you guys support them somehow with housing, that sort of thing?
There's all sorts of ways that these guys like to live their lives, and we try and accommodate all those different ways. There are a handful of guys that like to rent houses for the week, and we had a committee that was very well run that identified properties that people were willing to rent out, and then we hand it over to the PGA, and they work with the players' agents on all that stuff. So some players are renting houses. There are other people staying in one of several PGA headquarter hotels. And I'm sure there are golfers out there staying with friends. And while they're on the course, of course, we do what we can to meet their needs. And it's just part of the requirement. And that's one of those things the PGA gets input, not just from the golfers, but from the Players Association and other organizations to make sure that we can accommodate them and make them feel welcome, because we want them to come back.
Sure.
We want them to leave here on Sunday night saying, we can't wait to go back and play at Bellerive again.
Well, you've got the best golfers in the world there, and one name that has to come up in any conversation about golf is Tiger Woods. He's there. Does that create any specific problems for you, having luminaries of this stature in the area?
It doesn't create any problems for us. The issue that everybody has seen this year in every event he's played is he attracts a crowd, and the crowd likes to follow him. And so it creates and what I saw yesterday, we got some practice rounds in late morning yesterday through the afternoon, is it's not just him. I mean, there was a group yesterday of Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler and Justin Thomas, and let me tell you what, they had a pretty big following around with them. And this morning, Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy were playing together with John Rahm. They had their own crowd. So it's not just Tiger that attracts a crowd. It's a lot of other people, and as folks try and move around to follow them, it's pretty hard. My advice to people who ask me about it is I say, go 2 holes ahead of them, let them come to you. Then go 2 more holes ahead and let them come to you. Don't try and watch them on every hole. Try and watch them every other hole. And it'll be much easier for people to have an enjoyable experience if they do that.
And, of course, you've got to protect the course. You've got a lot of people milling around. That can be damaging to the course itself.
Well, there's no question that the areas around the holes, we call it outside the ropes, is taking a beating. But inside the ropes, the golf course couldn't look any better. And we'll recover from it. I mean, the nice thing about grass is it grows back. So our superintendent we've already, while we're focused on executing this week, we've already put a lot of thought into what we have to be doing next week and the weeks after to get the course ready for our members' use this fall.
How long do you think that's likely to take?
Well, I think there's some stuff that'll bounce back pretty fast, and there are probably other things that will take us a while to fix, and we'll prioritize that based on what, if anything, we need to do to the playing surfaces, which I expect will be minimal. So I think for member play, for those guys that are good enough to keep the ball in the fairway all the time, they won't notice any inconvenience at all. For people like me that are never in the fairway, I'm likely to put a ball someplace where the ground's a little chewed up because of pedestrian traffic, and that's probably going to take a couple weeks or maybe even a couple months to come back.
Well, you're going to have a lot of people looking at that golf course over the next couple of days. What should they be looking for? Tell me something about the course itself and what's going to make it most interesting for this tournament.
So we have two par fours for the tournament that we mortals play as par fives. One's about 550 yards with a dog leg to the left. The other one's about 460, and it also has a dog leg, but it's not quite as severe as the other one. So those are going to be really interesting holes. They're going to test the guys who are not long because they not only have to hit the ball around the bend, but they have to hit it far around the bend to even have a chance to get on the green in two. So I think number 4 and number 10 are really interesting holes to watch. Number 11 is a drivable par 4. But it's got some hazard around it, so it will be interesting, I think, in particular on Friday, which is cut day, and Sunday, which is the final day. It'll be interesting to see how aggressive some of these guys want to get to try and pick up a stroke or two.
If it comes down to the wire, what are the final hole or two like?
Yeah, so I'll go the final 3 holes because it isn't unusual that at Bellerive the final 3 holes are where the championship or tournament is decided. So number 16 is about a 220-yard par 3. Has a nice size green, but you have to hit it to the section of the green where the pin is. So that's a challenging hole, and for these guys, 220 yards isn't a tough shot, but hitting it to the right spot of the green brings in a different challenge. 17 is really cool par 5 with a creek that runs down the entire right side, and not surprisingly, the fairway slopes from left to right. So putting your ball in the fairway, maybe bringing it back into the fairway with a little bit of a draw so it sticks on the left-hand side is the shot you'd want to make. And then from there, if they're trying to get on in 2, while the 17 green is big, again, like a lot of our greens, there are multiple sections to them, and you better put your ball in the right section or you're looking at a 3-putt. 18 is a par 4, dog leg left, not particularly long, but you got to cut it around the bunker that's well placed on the left side of the fairway, and then a string of bunkers on the right side of the fairway if your ball doesn't move left. People may remember in the Senior Open, Tom Kite was in the lead, put his tee shot in the bunker on the left-hand side and lost the tournament to Peter Jacobsen because he felt like he had to hit a wood out of the bunker and couldn't do it. So 18 is a pretty dramatic hole. It's again a big green, pretty surrounded and protected by bunkers. This week it's protected by grandstands in the CBS broadcast booth in the back. So it'll be a really exciting hole to watch. So 16, 17, 18 are really neat holes, and the hole before that has traditionally been our number 2 handicap hole. The number 15 is a really long par 4 with a very tough green. So, I mean, even throwing 15 in there, it becomes a neat finishing 4 holes that people could either win the tournament or lose the tournament on.
For us duffers, it's really remarkable to see these guys play, isn't it?
It's just so different, Yeah, we all play the same game, but no, we really don't.
Yeah.
These guys have such control over how they strike the ball and how the ball reacts to that. It really, to me, isn't the same game. I mean, we talk about their length, and their length is certainly impressive, but it's really how they move the ball that I find so impressive. It'll be really neat to see how they do here. Obviously, the rain yesterday is going to make conditions a little soft, which for these guys is like playing darts, not golf. But if we get a couple warm, dry days, we're hoping that the golf course will firm up a little bit, maybe be a little tougher. But we'll see. That's in somebody else's hands, not mine.
I did want to mention the fact that there's this nostalgia, kind of a bitter nostalgia going back to 9/11 when a golf tournament was planned there at Bellerive, but it never happened because of the World Trade Center. A lot of talk about that this week, I gather.
Yes, sir. Quite frankly, the event is way more impactful and meaningful than the fact that a golf tournament was taking place here at the time, right? I mean,
yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it in the context of the incredible loss of life and the damage to our feeling of safety and security in this country as a result of 9/11. And we talk about that event, but to me, for me at least, that's kind of trivial relative to the attack our country suffered that day.
Sure. Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us. I hope you have a great event. Surely it will be, and you'll have a lot of eyes on the tube and a lot of eyes on the golf course over the next couple of days.
Well, we're really humbled to have the opportunity to show the world what a great place our community is. We all know it. Sometimes I think we feel like we don't get that message out to the rest of the world, and this is our chance to do that, and it's really a privilege for us to be the host site to let the world see what a great place St. Louis is.
I'm sure you'll do us proud, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is Mike DeCola, General Chairman of the 100th PGA Championship at Bellerive.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.